Welcome to the social-engineer.org podcast number 93.
93 is a big number.
It is a big number.
It's also Prime.
Oh,
this is the Prime podcast. And it's Prime for multiple reasons, not just a number, but it will be Hornsby free.
Dave's not with us
because
today.
Dave decided to not show up.
Not only that, but it is Jason Street.
That is true.
It is.
Extraordinaire.
That is true. So it's going to be pretty Prime all the way around. I can't believe Dave's missing it with Jason, but this is really my fault. I do forgive you, Dave, because it was pretty last minute warning for the crew.
Last minute as in scheduled last night.
Shh, let's not go that far with giving all the details out, Michelle.
And then reschedule.
Yes.
I moved it forward 15 minutes. That's it.
Rescheduling.
That's not rescheduling.
Some of us have calls. Some of us have other things that we do, and our days are full. Unlike you, who can sit there and schedule things last minute.
As you can hear, the wonderful Ping Look from Optiv is here. How are you doing, Ping?
I'm very good. Although it is gray in Seattle. Michelle probably loves it. I am dying.
I do love it. I have loved this winter.
And then we have Michelle Fincher, of course, with Social Engineer here. How are you, Michelle, today?
Well, the weather is rainy and beautiful.
I just want to dig in the garden. I'm okay with it raining, but it by the time I put my overalls on, like in the sun break, it's raining again.
It's true.
It's cold and rainy here. It's supposed to be spring, and we have cold weather. So I am also disappointed in the weather because it was 44 today and raining. It's supposed to be spring. But let us talk about that later because we do have some exciting news. As Ping mentioned, our guest today is Jason Street. Now, if you haven't heard of Jason and you just go and you type his name in Google, you'll be obliterated with tons of links about some really cool stuff and speeches that Jason has done. But here's a little bit on him. So he authored a book that's called Dissecting the Hack, the Forbidden Network. So you can check that out on dissectingthehack.com if you're interested in that book. Jason, I think he's spoken everywhere, literally around the globe. I mean, he's at DEF CON, DerbyCon, UConn, cons everywhere. So I always see if you follow him on Twitter at all, he's traveling the globe nonstop. If you just type in Jason E. Street on Google, you will find his life story, and he always describes himself as highly carbonated. Now, I really worry for him because that dude doesn't drink water. He just drinks Diet Pepsi.
Oh, no.
That's it. No water, just Diet Pepsi. And he eats pizza, and this is his claim to fame. Pizza from Brazil to Beijing and everywhere in between.
Okay, everyone, Jason is not a model of healthy eating or living.
With the bio, we have to realize that we probably should do an intervention with Jason today and maybe talk to him a little bit about some water and vegetables. I'm not sure.
Intervention, I like it.
Maybe we'll change this from the SE podcast to the
Phys Ed podcast, the PE podcast.
So look, here's our guest. Jason Street just popped in as I was doing his bio, and he heard me talking about trying to do an intervention to separate him from his Diet Pepsi. But
so he intervenes and says, no.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Jason, welcome to the SE podcast. How are you today, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
We were just doing your bio, and we were talking about all the different places you have eaten pizza and drank. Wow, that's not even a real English word. Where you have drinkened. I'm going to make that an English word. Drinkened Diet Pepsi throughout Beijing to Brazil. And Peng wants to do an intervention to help you.
There's just, if you want, you should just need to drink a carbonated drink. Drink like Coke from Mexico because at least it has real sugar in it. It's all full of chemicals. You're drinking chemicals. We want you to be with us when we're all like 110 and old and decrepit and be like, do you remember back in the day? And you're going to be not here. We're going to have to like put you in a tin can.
I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke cigarettes. Never done a drug. I've already had cancer. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the Diet Pepsi that gets me.
Dude, that's my story too. But I don't drink the Diet Pepsi. And it's Diet Pepsi. Why aren't you drinking Coca-Cola?
You know why? Because I like being contrary. It's like Coke's everywhere.
That's because it's better than Pepsi.
Michelle, help me.
All right, we're going to get back on track. I will help you. Jason, we're going to have an intervention at DEF CON. No Diet Pepsi. We're going to switch you to Diet Coke and then move you to regular Coke.
Wait, hold on. Here. That was me opening up a
Uh,
bottle of a 2-liter.
So besides the intervention, I wanted to finish talking about Jason's bio ping before we introduced him, which has now happened. But one of the things that I personally love about Jason is he kind of follows our mantra when it comes to penetration testing, which is not using negative fear-based pretexts, but helping people to learn what dangers are out there, what vulnerabilities they may have, but doing it in a way that can leave them laughing at the end of the day or leave them feeling better for having met you, as our mantra is. And that was going to be my conclusion to his intro when we said, and now here's Jason. But Jason, here you are. So thank you for sitting through that.
Thank you for having me again.
Not a problem. So, we talked a little bit about you and your history, but there's something that we didn't mention before we started recording the show, which I think is really exciting for this community and anyone who's listening. The day after this podcast comes out, you will be on a National Geographic TV show. You want to tell us a little bit about that show and what it is and how you got on there and all of that juicy stuff?
Okay, yeah. It started off really funny. A producer, Steve, he's a really great guy, and he was watching some of my old YouTube videos, like Still Kill Destroy and Breaking in Bad, that I did at the Social Engineering Village a couple of years ago. And he was like, "Oh, I want to talk to this guy about showing what could happen in a pen test, like, what damage you can actually do," because he was doing a documentary on Junaid Hussain, the terrorist hacker that joined ISIS. And he was like a hacker who went bad. And so he wanted to offset that and have me be the B-roll showing, well, it's not just all negative. Here's a good hacker who does things that tries to help out. It was really cool. It's like he showed up to DEF CON and he went with his whole film crew, and they were very scared, very cautious, very upset, very like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to us? We're in a bunch of hackers. And they left DEF CON with such a 180-degree attitude on what it means to be a hacker, how welcoming and inviting the community was. It's like, and how positive the community was. It's like, it was really great to see that. One of the best things from this whole show was actually affecting them and actually showing them. And it actually made it into the actual finished product where they actually allow me to say, what hackers really are. And they kept that because they believed in it. And so that was really cool. They filmed us getting ready for this job that I was going to be doing last September in Beirut, robbing a bank and doing a security awareness engagement. And so they filmed us in Vegas. Then they filmed us doing the recon in Beirut. And then they actually, with the cooperation of the bank gave us their bank surveillance footage. So you actually see high-def video footage. That's not like hidden cameras. It's actually the bank surveillance cameras and I've got 2 hidden cameras on my shirt, where you actually see me rob the bank. And so it was really cool.
That's unique to have a bank actually agree to release that footage. So how did you actually get that to occur?
That was totally on Khalil Sanawi. It's like he was able to talk to and interface. It was one of his clients. It's like I subcontract through Krypton. And it was one of his clients that agreed to do it. And to their credit, I do not think that if you did the same attack now, or if I did the same attack now, that it would be so successful. They take it very seriously. They did a lot of revamping after we were done. We spent like over 3 hours talking to the president of the bank, going over our findings. And there was no anger or ill will. It was like, this is and it was meant as an educational thing. It wasn't like a pen test where there's a fail. It's a security awareness exercise where it's a training. And that's the way it was approached. And so they found some places that they needed to train more. Whenever I do these engagements, I have to fail at least once. It's like either I do it because they're good, or I do it because I make myself fail so they'll have a win. But I always leave my client with a win, because that way, when you're training all the other employees, you've got something to look up to. You can say, well, this branch over here, they did this, and this is how they caught him. And these are the things that they looked for and they were able to do correctly. So if you give them something like that to shape the message, then it's not just a negative, you failed. This is how bad you did. This is why you can't do this anymore. You shouldn't do it this way. This is what was wrong. And that just makes it a negative thing. And you're not trying to train the heuristics of an antivirus scanner. You're trying to train a human, and humans have feelings.
So, Jason, let me take you back to sort of before the actual on-site starts, because I think a lot of people who don't do red teaming don't have a really good grasp. I mean, it's like what it's like to be a cop. And it's not all car chases and 30-second back alley chases. There's a lot of like sitting in surveillance and report writing. So, I guess prior to you being on site, how much preparation do you do personally? How much OSINT? How much, how many props? What do you do to prep to make sure that you're going to accomplish your objectives?
I'm the worst person to ask that because
You just parachute in and that's it.
basically I did more preparation and it looks like we did more recon and I look so much more professional than I've ever been in my whole entire life for this show. Okay. That is probably the only fake part of the whole show is it makes me preparing. I literally 4 years ago did talk to an executive who was giving me a little bit of attitude. I literally walked in to 3 bank branches with 0 recon, 0 information. They randomly picked the 3 branches and I still destroyed all of them and literally walking out with a computer at one of the branches. My approach is a little bit different because if I go in and I say, I've got all this skill set and I'm going to do all this and I have all this stuff. Then I've seen where clients are able to go and say, okay, we're good. Okay. Because you were amazing and you're like a super expert and you've got all this certifications and you've got all this stuff and all this training. So, okay. Yeah, we got destroyed by you, but a lesser attacker is going to be okay. I literally, when I do an engagement, I promise my client one important thing. I will do no more than 2 hours of Google searches for my research and recon. The longest I've ever taken on an engagement at all, successful or unsuccessful, the longest one I've taken was an hour and 45 minutes. And that was for a gig in Jamaica that Michael Allen and Andrew Nook helped me with. That was like the longest I've ever done. I literally go in with less than 2 hours of Google, looking at their websites, looking at their information, their about page, looking for their CEOs' names, their LinkedIn profiles, Facebook profiles, things like that. I bring in a whole bunch of gear that would show the virtual threat that I could be if I actually did something malicious. And usually a rubber duck payload with like a notepad on it that just opens up Notepad to show them that that could be a bad threat. I just walk in. I mean, literally, I walk into the building and I go in as a tech, I go in as a visitor, I'm going as an auditor, and I usually have a forged email that I used all that recon information on to forge an email that gave me permission to be there, and I keep that on my iPad. This stuff is so easy, even I can do it. That's my motto.
It sounds like then you have to be pretty quick thinking on your feet because I'm sure there's been objections thrown, right? That if you're not really
Oh, yeah.
prepared or if you haven't done OSINT, that might create a difficult situation for you.
For me, and it's different for a lot of people that are actually professionals, and I don't consider myself a professional at this stuff. You guys are the professionals. But for like most professionals, I've always said that my thing is 90% improvisation. I improv. It's like 90% of it. It's just trying to, it's like YOLO, we'll do it live.
But Jason, to be fair, how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this seriously where it's like people actually paid me money for it since around 2011.
So 6 years.
6 years being paid. He doesn't want to be called a professional.
Yes.
But he probably explored this beforehand too. So, I mean, part of it is, right, practice, kind of like the more you do it, the easier it comes to you. So,
to be honest, we're all social engineers. It's like, I was a social engineer since a child. It's like, a child realized when they were a baby that if they cried, they got what they wanted. And I realized when I was in my 20s that it's like the wittier and funnier I could be on my feet, the easier that the girls found me attractive because Lord knows it wasn't my face. So it's like I had to go with that. Every human has that ability to do social engineering. It just depends on what you do with it and what degree that you're using it.
You and I have had this discussion about dealing with clients on a way where we're not using the, punch you in the face negative pretext that make everyone feel bad. At what point in your career did you decide you were going to take a step on the light side of this industry, even though, you're doing really bad guy things?
I think it was like almost at the beginning. I started off doing network-based assessments. It's like in about 2005, 2006, I was actually doing a lot of network-based pen testing. Those were okay, but also they were not very fun. And I was upsetting people. It's like with my reports, I was not a very good pen tester back then. That was one of my biggest failings, was that I was so caught up and bought into that stupid theory that, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. Like my client is paying me to go punch them in the face and show them that they don't have a plan. And so it was very aggressive and very just, I'm in your face. I'm gonna show you. You paid me to destroy you. So yes, watch me destroy you. And for some reason, they weren't happy with that. And I'm like, but look, I showed you how ugly your baby was. Like, it's horrible. Why aren't you happy with me? It takes me a long time to pick up on things. So it was like a couple of years that I realized the approach was wrong. I needed to start showing them that I was an advocate as well as an adversary. That it's like I'm playing the role of as an adversary, but when that part is over, then I'm going to be an advocate to help you make changes and to help you be better secure. If you do a pen test, if you do a red team, if you do any kind of engagement with a client and you come back the next year and you get in through the same way, it's like, who really failed? Was it them or was it you or was it both? Because you should be an advocate. You should be helping advocate that change. You shouldn't just be going in there to show them how screwed up it is. You should be leaving there with them being more secure having you been there. When I started seeing people getting upset, I started realizing, and when I got into the social engineering aspect, it was a requirement. After every engagement, I leave for 2 minutes. The facility that shows that I successfully escaped. I actually hid in this last engagement in Beirut. I actually hid for 2 minutes inside this woman's weave hair shop where these two I think it was like a Nigerian couple and their child were having lunch. The place is so inviting. The people are so hospitable there. They saw me just rush in real quick. And I'm just looking around. I just looking at my phone. So I just used my phone real quick. The gentleman actually offered me lunch to sit down and have lunch with them. I didn't want to tell him, no, I'm just hiding here for 2 minutes. I'll be right out. But after that 2 minutes, I go back inside to the building. And every person that I talked to, every person that I compromised, I explained to them then, by the way, I'm a bad guy. This is what I did that was wrong. And this is why it was wrong for you to do this, but this is what you can do next time when you're in this situation. And I've got a representative of the company usually with me to show validity that I'm supposed to be there. And what's so beautiful about that is that they don't get a memo 3 months later. They are literally right then and there getting that impact, getting that teachable moment, and realizing in the moment what happened and how they can do better. And to me, that provides more value.
Now, have you ever had a negative consequence or a negative reaction handling it so quickly after the fact?
Oh, Lordy.
That was my question too, Em.
You actually see a brief clip in the show, in the Nat Geo show, on the beauty of hidden cameras. It was like one of the worst ones I've ever gotten. I'm so glad they didn't use the rest of it because it was one of the first times I actually sort of got angry. So I'm talking to the manager. And I've had, when I did a job in New York City, the receptionist who I explained to her I was a bad guy, she wanted to call the cops on me after I told her what was going on. And I had explained to her, I said, well, one thing is I'm having dinner with 2 NYPD computer guys in another hour. So if you want to wait, they'll show up. And 2, I won. You're just being a sore loser now at this point. I've already done all the bad things. I'm just letting you know that I did the bad thing. So don't be a sore loser about it. Just learn from the experience. But this one in Beirut, I'd gotten out after 2 minutes. I went back in, actually did some more stuff, and then I went back out, and then I went back in, and then I finally decided to talk to the manager. And we have a representative of the bank, and so I'm talking to her, and I'm explaining to her what I'm doing, and she's freaking out because I plugged the USB rubber ducky in from Hack5. She's freaking out. She's like, well, I want the USB drive. And I'm like, no. And the problem was, the day before, I accidentally robbed the wrong bank, which is a whole other story. And I actually gave them my rubber ducky. I actually gave them the USB drive so they could analyze it and show that it was okay. And it was like a very horrible 3-hour experience, but I didn't end up in Lebanese prison, which was a good thing. But I told her, I was like, no, if I rob the wrong bank, they get to borrow the USB drive. But this was the right bank. You don't get my USB drive. It's over. This is done. And so she's getting agitated, and I'm trying to keep it lighthearted and stuff, but she's getting more agitated. And so we bring in the representative from the bank who is then supposed to go and say, hey, this is person's here. He's vetted. He's experienced. You know who I am. This is what's going on, and explain everything. Well, the guy that they picked to be my get out of jail free card turned out to be my put me in solitary confinement card, because he got in there, didn't realize what was going on, didn't realize the engagement was over. So when she asked him, what was I supposed to be doing here? He literally was like, I don't know. I've never seen this person. He literally just would not acknowledge the fact that he was part of the engagement.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, I've got this dumbfounded look on my face. And I'm like, and I was starting to get angry. I was like, mother, you need to tell her what we're doing here, because I'm not going to jail now. Okay. It's like, I already beat that rap yesterday. I'm not doing it today. It's like, that's not going to happen. And so you see at one point in the show, you see the manager lady with this long glass rod that she was waving around like she was going to beat me with it. And you actually hear me go and say, sort of laughing, like, okay, what's that for? Hold on. What's this for? Because there was a moment where I was literally very concerned, because there were some people outside, and I'm in here with this office, and I'm like, not knowing what's going to happen. And I'm like, this is not good. And so, yeah, I was a little upset. That went really bad. She was not very happy with me. She started the conversation. I kid you not. She started the conversation when I sat down in her office. She said, let me explain to you why I hate Americans. And I'm like, this is going to go great. Once we finished talking, once we got it all hashed out, she was a wonderful lady. She was very passionate about her job. She was very concerned about what was going on. And she was really a great person.
This is a great story, Jason, but we're missing a major piece here. You just said you robbed the wrong bank, which, is a pen testing faux pas. So I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about robbing the wrong bank.
Did they just direct you to the wrong place?
No, who hasn't robbed the wrong bank before? Come on, man.
Me? I have never robbed the wrong bank. Okay.
Okay. Well, it turns out it happens. It's like, Michelle's going to love this. It was all because of Diet Pepsi. Diet Pepsi has almost caused me to dive by peeing off a cliff in Bulgaria, and also was responsible for me robbing the wrong bank in Beirut. So those are my two downsides.
So if you had been drinking Diet Coke, this would not have been a problem.
No, it still would have been.
A regular Coke, actually. You would have been empowered if you had been drinking regular Coke.
No. The problem was because it wasn't the drinking of it. It was the end result that has to happen because of drinking it.
What, diabetes?
Any liquid.
Yeah, exactly. So it would have been any liquid. So we're in mid-engagement. It's like I'd already done 2 branches. It was a separate bank. It was another bank. I was doing 2 clients there. So I'm doing this one client, and literally I've already had a 1.5 liter bottle of Diet Pepsi. I already finished that off. And I was getting to the point now where it's like, man, I need to really find a restroom, like now. And the guy's like, okay, he pulls over to the side of the road. He's like, okay, the branch is just down the sidewalk. It's just down there. And I was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, I'm not even listening to him halfway. I'm just like, okay, fine. Okay. And I start walking. And it's like, I'm walking fast. And it's like, and I get to the door and I see the branch and I'm like, open it up. I see the signs. I see the teller lines. I don't care about any of that. I'm looking for the men's room. And in Europe and in a lot of other countries, the public restrooms or the restrooms are usually in the basement or the second floor to discourage people using them publicly. I go immediately to the second floor, which turns out to be a findy because they should never allow me to get to the second floor. I find the restroom. It's like business is done. I then come back down feeling way more refreshed. And I'm like, okay, let's start poning. And I see these 2 people sitting at a cube looking at something. And I immediately go over there like, hey, I'm with Microsoft doing USB rights, to check your audit and stuff, for whatever. And I plug in the device. It pops up. I'm like, okay, that's great. I go to the next cube. I talk to them. I pop the notepad again on their machine. I'm like, okay, that's great. And I go to the third one. And this guy's like, excuse me, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I show him my fake Microsoft badge that says I'm a hacker, and it's on a professionally evil lanyard. I was like, oh, I'm here I'm with Microsoft doing USB rights for the merger acquisition that's coming up. It's very quiet. And I show him a forged email that I wrote, which is on an iPad because, irony and warning labels, and show him that. And so he reads it, and he's like, well, you need to talk to the supervisor. And I'm like, okay, cool. So walking me over to the supervisor, and I'm like, I show her the email. And when I show the supervisor person, usually there's two options. There's only two options that occur. The first option is they go, wow, that seems really legit. What else can I do for you? And literally, when we were filming, I used that same exact letter. And the guy read it and he was like, oh, yeah. He walked me through every machine so I could plug it the USB drive in. There was one guy behind the teller line that actually did the secure thing and locked his workstation when he went on break. I made the manager go get him from his break so he could unlock his workstation just so I could compromise everything and compromise his workstation after he unlocked it. And he let me into the network server room, everything. It's a really good email. So that's option one. Option two is you look at it and go, this is sketchy as nope, not going to do it. You need to give me something else or I need to call somebody. And then I go and use it as a way to escape going, oh, that's not all you need? Well, I have some more paperwork in my car. Would you like me to go get that? And I ask it as a question, like I'm not trying to escape. I'm just asking, do they want me to go get it? And they're like, yeah, sure, go get it. And then I escape. I've already compromised machines. So now I've successfully escaped. I'm still good. It turns out, though, there's a third option. And that's when the supervisor reads the email and goes, this is for the bank next door. What are you doing in here? And what were you plugging into our computers? And I am telling you, I am really good at improvising and like coming up with, but at that moment, my first words out of my mouth, I kid you not, were, this is unfortunate.
That's very natural. It's the first thing out of your mouth. I mean, the only thing you can say is I'm from the U.S. and I had no idea and I can't read.
This is unfortunate.
And
I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I robbed the wrong bank. My bad.
Did you actually say the words, I robbed the wrong bank?
I told her, I'm doing a pen test. I'm doing it for this bank. And it's like, why would you put banks like side by side? It's like putting a Pizza Hut and a Domino's. It's just not right. But there's like so many banks over there. They're like Starbucks. They're on every corner. So it was easy to get confused. So 2 minutes later, I'm in the manager's office now with the door shut, 7 people speaking Arabic very angrily around me. And I am very, very uncomfortable at the moment. Okay. I'm like, this is not good. This does not end well for me. And so I start sort of panicking a little bit. And I'm like, and I'm trying to explain to them, like, look, everything's fine. It's like, this was just, it opens up Notepad. There's nothing wrong with it. So I plugged the rubber ducky into the manager's computer. And I was like, here, look, see, and I show them the Notepad. And I turn around to look at them to show them, like, see, it's just a Notepad. And they got this look on their face. And then all of a sudden it occurs to me, it's like, oh, yeah, I compromised the third machine, didn't I? But with witnesses this time. So that didn't turn out the way I expected. So now we're talking, and like the representative from Krypton, he shows up and he starts trying to explain to them what's going on and what happened, because he was wondering why I wasn't in the other branch, because I should have been over there. Usually a representative or someone that can be my get out of jail free card is usually waiting, and they wait 5 minutes and then they walk in and act like they're not a part of anything that's going on. So that way they can be handy when I do it. So he waited 5 minutes, not realizing I went into the wrong place because I went straight up to the bathroom. And so he was waiting for 5 minutes over at the other branch, wondering what happened and where I was at. So it took him longer to get to me than I was comfortable with. But he finally got there. And so they made us take the USB drive to the main office with one of the representatives. And the tech guys, they looked at it. It literally, there's like 3 different things, binary, ones and zeros, that if it would have gone the wrong way, I literally would have ended up in Lebanese prison. But it took me 3 hours. It's like to talk about, I literally social engineered my way out of it. I was like giving them free consulting, telling them what they did wrong that allowed me to do what I did, giving them suggestions on things that they could improve on. It's like telling them jokes about how nervous I was and glad that I had peed before I found out I robbed the wrong bank. All these different things, just made it all funny and like good natured. And we left. I was walking out the door. I was like, okay, so we're good now, right? I'm miming handcuffs. It's like, I give you free consulting and no jail, right? I can go now. And they're like, yeah, you can go. And I'm like, okay, bye-bye. And I got out of there really quick. It happens. YOLO.
Well, I don't think you could just say it happens. It doesn't happen to many people, I just want to say.
Well, my life is weird. It's like,
well, I would go with that, yes. Let's take a quick break from our show and discuss what's coming up in the world of social engineer.
Well, it's going to be getting busy in the next couple months.
Getting busy. That's funny. Well, let's see. When this podcast comes out, you will only have, I think, 3 weeks left to sign up for the Bristol UK APSE class, which is starting June 5th.
There are still some seats available for that.
There are, but very few. I can't really believe it. This is the first year we're really packed out on this class. I haven't checked the site, but I think there's only 3 or 4 seats left as of right now in that class. The only other APSE class for the year that's public is at Black Hat, and that's completely sold out. So there is no other public APSE classes scheduled for this year. So I'm sad to say that is not possible. But we will be announcing the 2018 schedule quite quickly. So you can keep tuned to the website and the Twitter accounts for that. Okay, let's see. What else do we have going on? Because DEF CON is coming up around the corner, right, in the end of July.
Yep, and we've got some great sponsors this year that we need to mention and thank.
Some awesome sponsors. This year has really, really kind of gone over the top, if you ask me. So we have our favorite sponsors that have been here for years with us. Pindrop Security, which I think they're our oldest sponsor. They've been with us for over 5 years, I think, of doing this. They do voice-based security measures there. Pindrop Security, you can check them out. They're sponsoring the whole SE Village. Our partners and one of our favorite fishing tools out there, Fishline, which is also sponsoring the whole SE Village. So we're really excited to have those two back with us. We have a couple of brand new sponsors. Ravini is coming in. They're sponsoring the kids and the SECTF. So we have a sponsor there for the SECTF for kids, the SECTF for teens, and the main SECTF. We have Thoughts for Security, which is sponsoring the SECTF for kids and teens. So we can't thank them enough for their support. And then Back for the Attack this year is White Canvas, sponsoring the SECTF for kids and for teens also. And there is an anonymous, and I'm not allowed to say who they are because they gave us some money to help support the event, but they don't want any credit. So I'm just going to say to you, anonymous sponsor, you know who you are. We love you. And we thank you very much.
And to clarify, that is not the group Anonymous.
It is not the group. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Em. Yes. The group Anonymous has not sponsored us. And I'm not sure if we would take their sponsorship, but this is a secret admirer. Let's call it that. How about that?
Okay.
But these sponsors really have helped us make this event truly phenomenal this year. We really we pulled out all the stops. This new teen event is just off the hook. It really is. I can't wait for the kids to come out and see that. That is now live. So if you are between 6 and 12 years old and you have a child that's 6 and 12 years old and you want to sign up for the SECTF for kids, the registration is now live on the site. If you are a young adult from the ages of 13 to 17, then you need to get over to social-engineer.org and get into the DEF CON events area and sign up for the SECTF for teens. The SECTF, as well as the call for papers, are closing May 15th, actually May 14th at 11:59. So that is only a week or so, maybe 2 at the max after this podcast comes out. So I would definitely get in there. It has been unbelievable how much it has poured out this year.
But we've only got a handful of videos, so we'd really like to see more videos if you are interested in competing.
Yes, and we have some really good ones, we have some really creepy ones, and we have some really bad ones. So remember, the quality of your video will go a long way in helping us determine if you can participate in the SECTF. So like Michelle said, get those things in there pretty quick because we got to make decisions by June 1st. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about, so we talked about the CTF for kids, teens, main CTF. Don't forget Mission SE Impossible, all happening at DEF CON. And there will be Friday and Saturday evening, there will be a human track at DEF CON in the SE Village where we'll be hosting at least 4 to 5 speeches per day, all based on human type of security and different things like that we'll be putting up on the website by June when we choose who the speakers are. So you can keep checking the website for that and feel free to sign up if you want to before May 15th. Now, the next event, we're just really excited, which is DerbyCon. The dates of Derby, if you are interested, which you're going to have to sit on your page and just hit refresh. So 19 through 24 of September are the dates. 20th starts the training. And here's the crazy part. We're doing an OSINT class there, and I was going to say, hey, if you want to sign up, training is open. But our class sold out in 22 minutes. I can't even get over that. 22 minutes, our class was sold out. So, unfortunately, you can't make it to that class. But we are doing something brand new and exciting this year at DerbyCon. We are running a whole actual real SE Village. So, unlike before, we just had an event or two. It's an SE Village there. So, we're going to have Mission SE Impossible. We're bringing back Can You Fool the Polygraph? And we're doing a mini SECTF there. So there'll be a half a day of SECTF. The signups will be coming up really soon in June for that. And we're bringing back the SE panels since that was so popular last year. So you want to stay tuned for more info on that with the DerbyCon conference, and we'll be hosting the SE Village there. That's about it. What do you think, Michelle? Is there more?
No, I think that's enough for now.
Okay, well, let's get back to the show. All my years of doing this, I've never broken into the wrong place. I just want you to know that.
Well, I've never done it either, except for this one time. I really had to go to the bathroom.
I know it sounds like, you like to keep things friendly and you like to keep things so that your targets are in a good mindset. Is there anything else, though, that you stay away from? Are there things that you absolutely won't do, won't try, and why?
Well, one thing that I'll never do is I'll never write down or report the people that I compromised. They never get included in the report. They never get mentioned anywhere. I just say I was successful here. This was on site. I make sure, and I literally, like I said, I make sure that I get caught at least once. If it doesn't happen naturally, I make sure it occurs. And I will write that person's name down. I will explain what they did right to get me. And I will bring all that up in a report.
Have you had clients, though, that have come back and said, we want to know the names of the people who gave up X, Y, and Z?
Well, actually, I did. It led to a client that I'm never going to be hired again. So I'll let you know what it was. I actually used part of them in the talk because, it was funny and they don't like me anyway. But it was a CEO of this company. And he was like, I want you to do a spearfish. And your scope of attack is you can pick one person or 100, but I need you to be successful. And I want the names of everybody that clicked on the link. And I was like, well, shouldn't it be more of a training exercise, just to make people aware? I mean, because you've never done this before. It's like, no, we need to, just so we can evaluate them and we can see what's going on. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I mean, I'm a working guy. I need the gold pieces, so I'll do it. So I picked one target, the CEO who hired me, spent about 30 minutes on their about page and found all the information I needed to know, plus his Twitter ID. Found out that he went to a conference a year before, used that, went to that website, found a speaker that was in the same industry as him, stole his identity, sent an email on a website that had beef running, and sent him an email. And within 12 hours, he had clicked the link, and I was able to report to him. It's like, I am successful. I targeted one person. It was you. There you go. I did my contract. I've not heard back from him, but, it was successful. I will not write people's names down.
You're not going to be writing a book on how to win clients.
I am a horrible, horrible business person.
To be fair, though, right? You want people to leave feeling good. And so that when they have that culture of shame, like, give me the name of all those people who fail. I mean, you got to kind of be like, okay, well, the street runs both ways, right?
Exactly.
What happens when it's you?
And I've done it before where I've actually had the person who hired me, I had to put them in the finding as something that had happened. It's not fun and pleasant, but once again, it's like, you're never going to get professionalism from me, but you'll get honesty. So, that's one of the few things I can offer.
With all the things that you've seen, and let's say in this last year, all the things that you've done, where do you see, I don't want to just specifically say social engineering, but just attacks, and not from a pen testing side, but from actual malicious side. What's your prophecy for attacks in 2017?
Let's be perfectly clear here. I'm not saying this answer because I'm on the social engineering podcast. And I'm not saying it because I do social engineering per se. I'm saying it because it's a straight up fact. We're starting to forget as our technology evolves, as our devices that we use, the technologies we use to implement defense and security, it's just shifting the attack vector more and more to the human. It's like we no longer have a 7-layer OSI model. It's 8 layers, and humans are that 8th layer because humans can willfully make an exemption. They can willfully override what the technology is telling them they should do. And so I've always said this, and I'll keep always saying it. It's like I don't have to bypass your firewall if I can bypass your receptionist. So many times I see people talking about that they've got this late gen IDS system, or they've got this intrusion detection system or heuristic DLP module on their systems. And I'm like, but the guy lets me plug in a bash bunny. What does that do for you? It's like, how's that firewall working for you now? So, I mean, it's just one of those things where a human point vector is harder to accomplish for most hackers, for most attackers, but it's one of the most successful ways. And criminals are doing that. Criminals have always done that. I mean, one of the key things when you talk about some of the old bank robbers, it's like how they would always go in very casually, because the key thing was to get behind the teller line. It's like once you're behind the teller line, then you're fighting outward. It's like the quicker you can get behind there without detection or a problem, the easier you are to have the heist complete. So this is not a new concept. It's like going after the humans, going after the behavior is always going to be more successful in the long run. 0 days and code-based attacks, yes, they're going to be successful. They're easy to scan, but they are also limited in the scope of what they get out. Walking in with a ski mask and a shotgun can be an effective means to rob a bank, but it's a very big signal pattern detected match that something bad is happening, right? And they're trained for that, and they plan for those kind of attacks. So you show up with a USB drive in a suit, you're still robbing the bank, you're defeating their patterns, and you're also circumventing a lot of their controls. So, and you're getting away with more money. And, if you get caught, you go to the white collar crime prisons where you get bad bitten. So there's that. Those are the key things you have to understand. We are going to see more and more attacks based on manipulation of human behavior, not based on manipulating the device settings or computer controls, but getting the humans to be the weakest link, getting the humans to circumvent the controls that were put in place by technology and companies, circumventing those to still leave their company vulnerable.
And do you think that there's a particular type of social engineering that's going to be increased this year? Like, are we going to see more phishing, more impersonation, or do you think there's a combination of vectors? What do you think we're going to see?
I do a talk this year where what I do is I Google biggest bank in the vicinity that I'm going to be in. And then I walk everybody through the demo of how I would compromise them in under 2 hours. And finding an employee's Facebook profile, their LinkedIn profile, showing them what could happen and what bad things could happen just by doing these low searches. And then I finish it with a spearfish that I completed. And I put that spearfish up there and I say, who wouldn't click that link? And mostly everybody who's telling the truth will say, yeah, I would click that link. That ties to that person. I mean, it's got all the references in there. It's got things that makes it believe and establish credibility. And it makes it important or impetuous where they would want to click on it. It's a horrible email. I would never actually do on a real client. But for the talk, it scares the freaking bejesus out of people because they realize, yeah, that's horrible and mean. And yeah, someone would definitely click on it. So spearfishing is the way to go.
Yeah, I understand. I know it does sound self-serving because it's what we both do for a living, but when I look at the attack vectors that we see, not even from a pen testing, but just from a malicious standpoint, they just seem to be so much more human-based nowadays than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah, because there's more data to call on. Some of the things that I do, like I did a talk at B-Sides Indianapolis, and there were a murder of 2 girls there, 2 children and stuff right near Indianapolis. And so in Delphi. And so in my spearfish, I went from one guy going to another guy who this lady showed up to his party, his going away party from the bank as he was moving. And I had all this information. I knew she was at the party because she attended and she was logged into it. And there was the email from the guy saying, I'm back from Cancun. It's like getting ready to start my new gig. But I recently read the news article about the proceedings of the Delphi murder case and the murder that just happened down the street from you. And then I put the link right there. And I just wanted you to know that we're going to be talking about getting more escorts to the cars for our female employees. It's like, I just wanted to discuss that with you a little bit later. Never did I tell her to click the link. I didn't say you need to click this link or this link has to be clicked or click here for more information. I just put that in there among all that horrible stuff. And when humans hear horrible news, the one thing that they search out for more than anything else is information. They need to know more. They need to consume more. It's like, what's going on? I need to know more what's happening. So when you put that link in there after saying something horrible or something horrible has happened, it's just human nature. That person's going to click that link. If I told them to click the link, they would have been more suspicious. But by not telling them to click the link, they're more likely to do it. And once again, I tell people that was horrible. That was very bad. It's like a person is trying to steal from you. Do you think they care when you see a major disaster of massive proportions where people are dying and there's home destructions and Red Cross is in there? Within 5 minutes, there are fake websites up there profiting off all the suffering of those people. Those people are monsters. They're not going to stop and think about what they're doing. They are monsters. They're trying to make money. They're trying to profit off the suffering of others. Those are who you need to be protecting yourselves from as well.
Yeah, I can't argue that logic either. Okay, so Jason, we always like to ask our guests a couple questions as we come near the conclusion. First of all, obviously people can find you on National Geographic next Tuesday or a day after they listen to this podcast. Now, is that going to be online or will it be just if you have Nat Geo on TV? How will they be able to watch that?
The premiere is being broadcast in 171 countries and 45 languages, May 9th, or approximation of that day. Because I know it's like on May 8th in Australia. But they also offer it for online viewing for certain cable news groups. And then I'm pretty sure this being a hacker-related show, it'll be on a torrent within like 35 minutes after it being put out. So let's be honest. But not by me. So that's what counts. I've got that channel, so I'm going to be watching it on the TV.
Yeah, probably true. So that it will be on torrent.
How many episodes, Jason?
It's just one. It's just a one-time. The whole series is just like 1 hour documentaries.
So are you going to record it and then play it at DEF CON and then do a blow-by-blow, like your commentary as you go along and let the audience ask questions?
That would be probably like a drinking game. I really find it hard to believe people would want to listen to me like that. I'm always surprised when people actually want me to speak. So I don't think I'd be able to do that. It's like, because it's like, I just feel like I'd be wasting everybody's time. It's like, I hope they like the show though.
It's called the director's cut, right? It's like your director's cut with your commentary. I love that sort of thing. So maybe that's just me, but
there are some good Easter eggs. One of the things I wanted to say as well and make sure that it was mentioned, that it's not just about me. There's a lot of good people in there. Khalil Sanawi, Darren Kitchen, Dave Kennedy, certain other people, maybe Michelle and Chris. And one of the best things about it is they filmed me giving my talk at Social Engineering Village last year. And you actually see a cutaway from the back of the room. And so you see the whole Social Engineering Village sign. And you see a little bit of view of Chris at the podium as he's announcing me. But you mostly see Michelle because, she's cuter. She's more in focus for some reason.
Thank God for that.
It's like, but I had to make sure that y'all were definitely in there. And y'all are a big influence in helping propel and make social engineering a good thing. There's a lot of people out there that make it seem negative doing this stuff. And so it's really appreciative that there are people out there like you, Chris and Michelle, and everybody that are creating a more positive interaction with social engineering.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Didn't even know all of that was happening. What do you know?
Yeah, you didn't even pay me.
I didn't even pay you.
That's terrifying.
That's crazy. Okay, so we'll obviously all be looking for that both online and on TV and on torrents. I mean, not us, of course, but we would never do that. But others will be looking for that on torrent. And I think Ping's idea is pretty good, playing that and having a director's cut kind of thing. I think people would be interested. And I think there's a lot of people that come to these conferences that are new in the industry. And I think one of the biggest questions we get all the time is how to break into this industry, how to do it. Someone who has experience could add a lot of value, especially the value of telling people the messaging on how you can do this without having to be a jerk. If we can build that into the young guys and gals entering this industry, we can make our next generation of SEs with the ability to do this job without all the negativity.
And Jason, what is the actual name of the show? I don't know that you mentioned it.
The series is called Breakthrough, and the episode I'm on is called Cyber Terror. Sorry.
Is it the starting one? Is it the very first one of the series?
No, it's the second one. First one was on last night.
Oh,
Yes,
darn.
it's called Cyber Terror, okay? And a testament to me, I would like to think that it was called Cyber Terror because at the very beginning of the whole project, they were focusing on a horrible person who was promoting death and destruction of stuff, which is like, I don't attest to. And by the end of the production, out of the 5 segments, 3 of the segments are focusing on us breaking the bank, and only 2 segments are focusing on the terrorism and the negative side of it. Once again, being at DEF CON, seeing the positivity of the hackers actually made the show change its direction a little bit to show more positivity than negativity. But it still kept the title Cyber Terror because, cybers and terrors is, gets people to watch.
Yeah, I love how you said it because we got done with this whole positivity conversation, and then the name of your show is Cyber
Terror.
Oh,
It's a great
okay.
show. It's very positive, very wonderful. It's like, was it Cyber Terror? Chris, you brought up a good point. It's like, it's so funny that you mentioned that because literally next year, I alternate my talks, and next year's a rant year. And I've already started working on my talk for next year, which is basically going to be, how do you get started in information security and hacking? What is it like? What's the scene? I mean, where I talk about I break down the different enterprises and different positions and different avenues you can go based on what you like to do. I'm just now getting into it because I'm trying to collaborate with a lot of people that are predominant in their industries to help give me feedback so I can put those in the slides. But that'll be my talk for next year.
That's awesome. Yeah, I submitted a talk for Derby, which we won't know if it gets accepted, to talk about how to become a professional social engineer. So I think it's good to have some topics on this because there's a lot of young guys and gals looking to get in the industry.
If they go to iRonin, ir0nin.com, there is a Getting Started tab, which is Getting Started in the information security industry and the hacker community. That is from a lot of different contributions from a lot of different people on how to get. I'm about to add actually 2 more today on how to get started from their perspectives on what you need to do to get started in the industry.
That is awesome. Thank you for that. How do people find you? If they want to interact with you, or they want to read more about you, or they want to find out what you're doing and where you're doing it, how can they do that?
Read my CIA dossier. It's got to be amazing.
Okay.
Because those guys are tracking me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm paranoid.
Yeah,
but
that's one option.
Yeah, but my minions keep talking to me, so I think they're bugged. But no, Twitter at JYSON STRET. And literally, I'm working on something because I've got some more ventures coming up that I can't announce right now, but I can let you know that there's no website yet, but I'm creating a personal website, jasonestreet.com, that will have my schedule for my calendar for my conferences and some more information and like things that I've done and places I'm going. It's basically, I have no calendar. It's all in my head. And I've screwed a lot of people over recently because I would double book without remembering that the other place said I was supposed to go there first. So I'm trying to create a central place. I was talking to Jim McMurray a day or so ago, and he was like giving me some good advice. And that was one of them. And so I took it. And so I'm going to have jasonestreet.com to be that one place where you can go to figure out everything out that you want about me.
Yeah, my solution to that was to hire a Michelle. She's definitely smarter.
That is amazing. I told this one guy, it's like, I need a supervising adult. It's like, as long as I have a supervising adult, I'm fine.
We are very rare. It's like finding a unicorn,
It is.
Exactly.
It is like finding a unicorn. That's why we have to keep them when you find them.
That is true.
So, okay, so we got your Twitter, we got your website coming up very soon. We'll find out about top secret projects coming up. So we always ask this question of every person, which is a book. We have a lot of people who love to read that listen to this podcast, and we add these books to our recommended reading list every month. So is there a book? It doesn't have to be about this topic. It could be any book that you like. Is there a book that you've read recently or even in the past that you would recommend?
That is a good question.
Fight Club was my last recommendation.
Yeah, that was Michelle's last recommendation was Fight Club.
My recommendation, I would think, especially for these trying times, is what I just got a humble bundle on, is Bloom County, the collected works of Bloom County.
That's fantastic. I love Bloom County. I have all of them.
Exactly, and it's because it gives you, and they've got a humble bundle where you can buy all of them electronically to put on your tablets to read, which is what I got. And it's not just because because they're funny, but they help you reassess, how you're outlooking your outlook of the world and looking at it from different viewpoints. And it's one person creating it, but he still tried to create, Berkeley Breathe tried to actually show different perspectives of different sides of humanity with his characters. And so there were some very poignant messages in those stories. And I think all of them had the general theme of just trying to be a better human.
One of my favorite comics of all time.
Me too.
Awesome.
Good choice.
Calvin and Hobbes.
Thank you for that recommendation. That's great. Jason, I can't thank you enough. This has been not only interesting and fascinating, and of course the stories are always ridiculous as usual. It's just good to hear like-minded people talking about what we're going to see coming up this year. And we look forward to seeing you at the conferences coming up. DEF CON is going to be right around the corner. DerbyCon right around the corner after that. It's just going to be awesome. So
we've been awkward hugging for like 4 years now. We're running out of configurations. We're going to have to think of something very special this year.
Oh, honey. Challenge accepted. Trust me. I tell people, it's like H.D. Moore created Metasploit. Okay. Dave Kennedy created Set. But me, I can hug people in an awkward manner. Okay. That's my thing. I got you covered. Okay. There's never something where it's not awkward enough. Okay. I can make that happen.
Okay, I'm going to trust you on this.
Okay, remember PG-13.
Right.
Jason, as always, awesome. Thank you, man. Well, Michelle, another great podcast.
Yeah, and he's such a nice guy, always wants to leave people feeling better for having met him. And so it's nice to talk to another practitioner that has that kind of philosophy.
It really is. It's really nice. I mean, we lost Ping. She had to go to another call, but right before she left, she said she really enjoyed this podcast, really loved talking to him. And it's true. He's just one of those guys that, like, when he starts talking, you don't really mind. You can kind of listen to his stories, and then you're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't even matter that he just talked for 10 minutes because he's interesting,
And he's just a good example for our community. I don't understand why he's got problems with trolls, but I guess everyone has problems with trolls. But
yeah, somebody told me recently that if you have haters, that means you succeeded. I don't know if that's true.
Well, it's too bad because he's a nice guy.
It is too bad. And I'm really excited about seeing this show. If you go on to National Geographic on the website, they have a 1 or 2 minute clip about it. Shot really good, videography on it. And it looks like a great theme. And it looks like they captured the essence of what it is that Jason and Darren and Khalil really do. So excited to see that. And actually, I didn't even know that you and me were in it. I didn't know that whole thing from DEF CON was in there. So
I'm actually terrified that I'm in it, but I'm glad the village is in it.
I'm a little terrified to see too. I don't remember what I said about it when I introduced him. Hopefully, it was all really nice things, and I didn't humiliate myself in front of international television.
Hopefully, I wasn't picking my nose when they were filming. They should at least have the grace to edit that part out.
We probably were like half dead, falling asleep, and eating a sub or something in the background. Anyhow, well, if you'd like to follow us, Michelle, it can be found at Sultry Asian. I'm found at Human Hacker, and our corporate is at SOC Engineer Inc. Our websites are the all new and improved social-engineer.org. We've gotten some great feedback on some of the improvements, so check that out. We tried to make it easier to navigate and find the things that you're looking for there. And our social-engineer.com. It's not very active, but I still will announce it. We have an IRC channel. It's Social-Engineer if you're still coming into IRC. And you can reach out to us at any of those means, and we'd be happy to chat about social engineering. We'll see you at one of the conferences or next month. See ya.
Stare into the embers on the 1st of November and remember you were born